Hey guys, my name is Mavi and I've spent the last 14 years in the plastic surgery and beauty industry, working alongside top board certified plastic surgeons. In that time, I've helped thousands of women in their surgical journey. My passion to educate and help women feel empowered is what led to what we now know as the Big Butts, No Lies podcast. Join in on the fun as I talk to plastic surgery experts, friends, and real life patients about all things plastic surgery. Should be fun. Hey guys, do I have the episode for you today? I'm so excited about this episode today because one of the things that I always want to be very clear with you guys is the risks. There's always risk with anything that we do, and I want us to be as transparent as possible. I know the people that I've brought on the show before have had great journeys, very happy, and have not really had to deal with post-op blues or post-op depression. Y'all know I've asked them, so how did you feel, any post-op feelings? And most of the time they'll say, yeah, it was a roller coaster, but I got through it. And I haven't until today had somebody who allow us into how her journey is. And today I'm so excited because I have Laura, and Laura is a plastic surgery patient. And we also have Stacy, and she's a mental health coach. So you guys, I know y'all know this is going to be an amazing episode. Laura, I'm so happy to have you on. Thank you, Laura and Stacy.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. We're
Laura,
excited.
Yeah, I am excited about getting candid. I don't ever want us to sugarcoat things to where people don't really understand what they're getting into. And I'm so thankful that you're open to coming on and telling us about your journey. And you guys know that I think everything happens for a reason, and everything, like, y'all know that the universe is in control of what is happening. God has got me in his hands, and everything happens exactly how it's supposed to happen. And Laura is one of those people that came and is exactly where she's supposed to be. We were all where we were supposed to be for us to meet today. So Laura, I'm so excited for you to tell us about your journey. How did you find your plastic surgeon? How did you decide? Where did you have your surgery? What did you do? And how was your recovery?
So down memory lane. Well, I had always, since I was very young, struggled with my weight. My dad was put into prison when I was 2 years old. And so she remarried, and my stepdad was very vain. And my siblings are all athletic, very in shape. And I am just naturally was not, and I was a kid. Like, let's be real. I was a young kid. So like 5 years old. So he would put me on diet since I was like 5 or 7 years old, salads only, not let me eat cake at my own birthday party type of thing. So I just grew up really hating my body. I became bulimic when I was 13, all the way up until I was 18. And because of the binging and purging, that was actually the first time I dealt with elasticity in my abdomen was from that. I could suck my stomach in and be a size 7, but I could let myself go and actually be a 14. That's how bad, or 12, let's say. That's how bad my elasticity was. And I was only, 17, 18, 19 at that time. Then I had my daughter, and then add that on top of a lifelong weight challenge. No matter how small I would get in the sense of dieting in my gym, because I never had a good relationship with food, it doesn't matter how much I worked out, there was still going to be some, science would have to help. Technology would have to come in. And I am blessed to have a mother that was just like, look, if that is what is going to make you happy and that's what you want to do with your body, be safe and go for it. So at the time I was living in Cancun, Mexico. So for me, going to the States was an option because I didn't live there, but I had a group of expat friends that all loved surgery. So one of my good friends at the time, a fabulous man walking around in G-strings all the time, was like, he had just gotten his abs done and he had pecs put in and liposuction and a BBL. I didn't even know they did that on guys until I met him. And so I was like, when the pandemic happened, I left the sales career I was in. We did face-to-face sales. So obviously you couldn't do that anymore. So since I only had $10,000 in my bank account and was like, who knows how long this is gonna last, I started my first consulting company, and it blew up. And I went from like on a high end living paycheck to paycheck to like balling out of control. And so I was like, I'm ready to get my body done and get my teeth fixed. And I'm ready to turn into Beyonce. So that's all I did as far as research. And I don't recommend this. I just looked at pictures of Beyonce and was like, that's what I want to look like, not even putting it together with plastic surgery. I just was like, in my mind, plastic surgery worked like this. You go to the doctor, you go to have a surgery, and you come out looking like Beyonce. That's it. I was really too busy to go into groups and ask questions. Plus, I don't like listening to the opinions of a bunch of people anyway. I'm very impressionable. Like, I'm the type of person that if I hear a song about popping bottles in the club, next thing you know, I'm on my way to the club to pop bottles. Like, I'm very impressionable. so, so I didn't do any of that research. So I definitely recommend that you should do in your doctors. I went after a doctor that had really had a great successful surgery with my best friend man, but never saw his before or afters for women or anything. So I really got blessed. I am very fortunate that he was a good surgeon as far as the work was concerned. My scar, I'm not extremely happy with, but my proportions and the way it came out, I was happy with. But I'll tell you, the hardest part was when I woke up from my surgery. I was not prepared for everything I was going to see, having tubes coming out of me. I was very itchy from the morphine. I didn't actually even know that they gave me morphine because I didn't pay attention. I had a severe problem with alcohol and pre-existing depression, all of that leading up to my surgery anyway. You can never tell if you look at my Instagram, of course, because I never posted that back then. All of a sudden you can't drink anymore. So I woke up immediately wanting a shot of tequila. Couldn't do that, obviously. Then they give you like prescriptions like through your IV, which they make you feel better like in the moment. So that's really all I was concerned about. But I guess I woke up to my assistant Andrea because she was the one there waiting for me. The surgery was so long. The original friend that was waiting for me, she left. So she left. So had they not called Andrea, I would have woke up alone. And my daughter had gone to be with my mom. So my social aspect changed just like that. My pain, all of a sudden, I'm in pain. I can't move. What do you mean? I need help to walk around this room. I was just not, I remember them saying stuff like that, but I was so excited in the moment that I wasn't really digesting everything that they were telling me. They were probably doing their best to explain to me what I would experience, and they gave me a printout. But I'm like a what they call a speed reader. So
Simmer.
I'm like, okay,
Like
yeah, I'm
me.
a skimmer. Yeah, like okay, all right, yeah, yeah, more protein. Oh, okay, cool. I'll eat some steak. So luckily, my assistant was smart enough to get me a nurse, and she came and was with me like every day. I had a good group of friends. One was a chef, so he like cooked for me. But I have to say, the first 2 weeks between the nurses having to help me go to the bathroom and needing help to even take a shower, needing help to wipe my ass, needing help to I'm very independent, y'all. I've been on my own since I was 15 years old. Okay. I've been working since I was 9 years old. I used to go door to door and sell cookies. All right. I'm very self sufficient. I worked in a career for over 10 years of dominating men. And I just learned how to have the biggest balls in the room. And I'm like, you can't mess with me. I'm tough. I'm Lauda Alexis. You don't know nothing. And I went from like Lauda Alexis to baby Wawa. That's what my mom calls me. Now, my family still calls me Wawa right now, but that's like my baby name. I woke up baby Wawa. Like, I want my mommy. I'm in so much pain. Where is the tequila? Oh, wait, I can't have that. I can't smoke weed. I can't do anything. And so, as they start taking you off the pain medication, and you can't substitute it for something else because it's not safe. And what am I going to do? Ask my doctor, hey, I used to have a drinking problem prior to the
Can you
surgery.
give
And
me a
now I'm
little
like,
extra?
yeah, I feel like, Dave Chappelle, like, can I get something? Can I get something? you know? Scratching my neck and stuff. But it just was over freaking whelming. I mean, I remember crying a lot during my massages, and it wasn't so much that they hurt, but it was like, why did I put myself through this. And it was really hard because my daughter wasn't around. And my daughter, up until I found other reasons to live other than my daughter, she was my only reason for waking up in the morning and being optimistic about any day. So with her not to wake up to, because I didn't want her to see me like that either, there were days I didn't want to wake up at all. And so had it not been, I read a book in 2017 by Dr. Max Maltz. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics. And he's a psychologist and plastic surgeon who wrote a book. It was published in 1960, okay, about people undergoing plastic surgery and their mental health and how self-image plays a huge part in recovery. So I knew only by reading that book, and the only reason I read that book was not for plastic surgery. I wasn't thinking about plastic surgery in 2017. I only read that book so I could have a better self-image, so I could be confident in front of my clients that I was trying to sell so that I could sell more. And it was a practice. Chapter 9 is about being happy, choosing to be happy I think it's chapter 7, every single day. Like, if it wasn't for the guidelines of that book that I just started resurfacing, because I get those moments like, this was the stupidest thing that you could have done. You're not even in a good mood to call clients right now. You need to close these contracts. Because I work virtually and mostly on the phone and on email. So I would still have to be on the phone and be like, yes, this is Laura Alexis. But I'm feeling like I literally, and I'm going to keep it real, I want to die right now. And you have to be so careful when you have depression and you have thoughts like that, because if you dwell on those thoughts and you don't have a why in place and you don't have something other than the visual of your kids, because sometimes if your kids aren't in your face, I don't know if that's you, but for me, I'm a very strong, independent woman. You can check me out, okay? On my social media, if you look at that girl from 2022 back, you won't see no weakness. You will see a whole bunch of popping tags, traveling the world. Seems like everything is amazing. And I'd say a good amount of time it was, but deep down, I was struggling with every single other person struggles with depression and anxiety. Am I good enough? Am I going to reach my goals? How am I now? I'm uncertain. Now I'm recovering from surgery. I can't even move on my own. How am I going to reach my financial goals if my attitude isn't up to par? What if they say no to this $100,000 contract because I sound like I'm in recovery? And so it was extremely hard. And I really appreciate that my mentor many years ago told me to read that book, because it really did kind of save me in certain times, especially the first 2 weeks, and then when they took me, so in Mexico, and I think it's a lot of Latin American countries, I don't know if they do it in the States, but my surgeon had me go to like a tank, like an oxygen tank. It's
Like a
supposed to help.
chamber.
Yeah. That was a struggle for me. Now, I did the most capable, right? Because I wasn't about to spend all this money. I think I spent for everything like $8,000. I wasn't about to spend that money though, and then not have it turn out to the best of its capabilities. So whatever they recommended, like massages, they said I recommend 2, I got 3. And they said, go to this, chamber once a week. I went twice a week. I was trying to heal my body because my mind, I've always had a problem with my body anyway. So now I have even more of a problem with my body because I chose to do this to myself. It's not looking exactly like I thought it was in the moment. I know it can look better, but I need to follow these steps in order to get there. So being that I'm also a person that likes instant gratification, that was just extremely hard. And then when you're in that chamber, you can't have your phone. You can't have no music. You're in there with that nurse for an hour. Sometimes I think towards the end we started doing 30 minutes, but the beginning it was an hour and a half. And man, it is the best opportunity for your mind to start messing with you. And I really, even at that time, I met Stacy post-op probably 1 year. So this is how long I dealt with post-op depression, was 1 year. Like, it wasn't something that just went away because the swelling started going down. I look back at pictures now, like 3-4 months after working with Stacy, while in that time I was with a great group of people, all working out, like really eating right. I looked phenomenal. Okay. But I did not see it. Even in that space, I was still comparing myself to the 20 something year olds that had like no fat at all. Not, well, I got this little piece of fat. Like they left a little, now I know it's like BS why they did this, but they left a little piece of fat near my incision. They said it was so the incision would heal, but I know that there was probably a better way to do that. And I was going to get lipo HD in March of last year, but then I had some personal things happen and I couldn't get it done. But she was like, just shook her head when I told her that excuse that there was fat left near my incision. But other than that, like my body was amazing. And I finally, when I was thinking about, and I'm still going to have another round two, I just had a baby a month ago. So I'm getting my body in shape physically right now, eating right, doing everything I need to, because I know in a year I want to have another surgery. But I will be so much more prepared and so much more well equipped because I know exactly what I'm looking for, what I want, what I don't want. But the first time around, going back to that bariatric chamber, it was really hard. I mean, it's extremely hard. I would challenge, if you want to know what it kind of feels like, go to your closet, leave all of your devices outside, turn off the lights, and just try to sit there by yourself. No music, no nothing for 10 minutes. And if you're a person like me that's very active and your mind goes, you're going to get out of that closet. I mean, I wouldn't even make it 10 minutes. In the first couple of weeks, one reason I made it because I couldn't get out of that daggone thing without help. And I was always so terrified that my drains were going to come out every single time, because they're hand like, watch my drains. And I'm actually really freaked out by blood. So it's really crazy that I had this surgery. But it's because I didn't think about the process. I thought about the results. And that's probably the biggest mistake that I made, was having no respect for the journey, no respect for the process. Just like, because that's what that's what I see celebrities do it, right? They pay the money, but we don't see their recovery. They don't talk about none of that. Some of them don't even talk about their surgery. So I'm like, okay, so it's going to be like them. I pay and then I slay. And that's
Like that.
But you can pay and slay, but there's a
whole
space in
process.
between.
Yeah, there's a whole process in there.
Yeah, it's a whole process. So I have to say that I worked with Stacy because I needed to feel like someone could understand me on the addiction part. It's really hard to talk about, as a mom, and I'm not a single mom anymore. Praise the Lord. I got me a husband now, but the stigma. I'm a single mom. I'm a business owner. Those people can't be addicts, So, and I didn't want to go back to, I found myself when I met Stacy, I was in the middle of another, what do we call that? When you're using, like overusing, I was over drinking again. My body was looking tight because I was eating right. I had a younger group of friends, all athletic. I started getting invited in Mexico to all these events, Gucci and Cartier, and you get to dress up. There's free booze. It's just like, and next thing I know, I'm preferring, instead of eggs, I want to watch my calories. So I'd rather have my margarita instead of eggs. And it was really spiraling out of control. And one thing I love about Stacy is that she's not judgmental, that she understands because she went through it herself. And so she really knew how to give me tools and how to be able to cope. Because believe it or not, a year later, I was still dealing with having a surgery. For me was a traumatic experience. I walked in totally in control of my body and thought I was in control of my life, to walking out, realizing that I have no control over my body right now while it's healing. I have no idea how to incorporate this lifestyle that they want me to incorporate to sustain this. So I probably just spent all this money for no reason. So now, where am I going to find the help? And because I'm not a person that likes to ask for help either, and when I asked my doctor, I'm feeling like this, he was just like, oh, don't worry. That happens. Just, you're going to look great, And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to look great. But what about, in my mind, I'm like, but what about how you feel, girl? Because, you're saying some scary things that would bring your mama like wanting to commit you type of things. And you need to get that under control, and figure out why.
So, did you have a moment where you were like, okay, I need to find help. I need to call somebody. How was that? And then how did you find Stacy? And Stacy, how did you help Laura?
So I remember the moment I was in my castle in the sky. It was like my dream penthouse overlooking the Caribbean. I mean, it was just my dream place, elevator doors, everything. And I'm using this as an example to say that I was in the best part of my life, like beautiful out on the outside, all the things that I could want. I just bought my new Mercedes. Like I should have been happy, that what so people think. So I'm just explaining that not to brag, but to say I was in this place, and at 2:00 in the morning, I found myself with another empty bottle of tequila, cussing out my driver to go get me another one at 2:00 in the morning. And he was like, I'm not getting you anymore. My driver, he had driven for me for like 3 years at this time. He saw what was happening. So I was fighting with him because he wouldn't get me more tequila. It was 2 a.m. I was just like, I know that I need help. And I had started this concept of having a recovery system for women post surgery back in Mexico. And I was through one of my coaches at the time, Dominic, who's actually one of my coaches now. She recommended me to Stacy. And I talked to Stacy at first to partner up. But then when I talked to her, I liked her so much. I was like, actually, I
Right.
need some I need some help. Like I need someone to help me get through these feelings. I'm not going to be able to go where I want to go in my life and be who I want to be if I keep getting trapped in this cycle. So that's how I found Stacy, and she has been absolutely amazing for my mental and to help me overcome those days that still come even now, and especially after having the baby. I did all that work, and then I was looking so fine, I got pregnant, and then and now and now I just had the baby, so we gotta go. It's like going through it again, but I am much more well equipped to go through right now than I definitely was when I first had surgery.
Okay, Stacy. So, tell us a little bit about what you specialize in and how you helped Laura.
Okay, I am a life coach or a mind coach, mental coaching. So, what that is I have dealt myself, like Laura said, with addiction. And then after I dealt with addiction, I come to learn the term codependency. And then and that's dealing with people, because it's one thing you handle the addiction, I quit putting drugs, chemicals in my body and thinking that the whole world's going to be just fine, that I'm going to know things that I didn't know before because I'm not using drugs, right? But the thing is that we don't understand the psychology of that. And I'm not a psychologist or doctor by any means, but I've studied a lot and I've had a lot of therapy and coaching myself to be comfortable in my own skin, because that's why we use drugs, right? It's so we can feel comfortable in our own skin and feel like we fit in and we've arrived and all of this stuff. It's the power too of all of that. So when we deal with addiction and having to admit that we're powerless over that addiction, that our lives are unmanageable because of that, because we're living from the outside in, we're looking for things, we're grasping things. Addiction is so expansive. It's addiction to food, it's addiction to sex, it's addiction to drugs, it's addiction to money, it's gambling, it's addiction to whatever is in excess. What Laura was saying earlier was that living in excess, and she's a very savvy woman, very smart. I learned so much from Laura that she could do that. And so, we're taught in this society, if you can do it, but it's not really getting authentic with ourselves because we're living from the outside in rather than getting comfortable in our own skin. So that's really what I worked with Laura on, is getting comfortable, because she's beautiful. You can see she's just beautiful. But that doesn't mean we're comfortable in our own skin, because there's where the codependency comes in, is that society is telling us that we're supposed to be like this. We're supposed to be like that. You're supposed to do, and all of these old tapes. And then there's that childhood trauma of what society told our parents they were supposed to be and what our grandparents were told they were supposed to be. And all of that comes down the line in the DNA, which, cosmetic surgery doesn't address that kind of thing. So that's where we start unwinding the tape, right? Is that all these tapes are in our head of what we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to do, and reacting rather than responding. And that comes from the trauma. That's what Laura was dealing with a lot, was the reacting rather than responding, because we're not slowed down enough, because our body's getting dysregulation. Dr. Bruce D. Perry and Oprah talk about that in a book. And there's there's many doctors, psychologists that talk about it. And I'm not a psychologist, like I said, but I read this stuff and I study this because I do work with Reiki and energy work and things. And that's what I did with Laura, is to help her dysregulate. Because what happens is when we feel a trauma or somebody says something to us that makes us feel, for me, if somebody says something to me that makes me feel stupid, then I kind of want to, because that's something that wasn't focused on maybe as in my childhood is my education. So I've worked really hard to learn a lot now, but so that might be what we call a trigger. So it was helping Laura with these triggers, but sometimes these triggers are emotionally in our body. We may not even understand that because somebody talked crazy to us back in the day in a certain way when we were growing up, that when somebody says something to us that may be not even offensive, that we may be offended by it. And that's what I think a lot of people are dealing with today. There's so many people getting offended, is that it's that unhealed trauma and everything. And that's what we worked on with Laura's. She had a place up in the sky. When I walked in, I'm like, dang, this is something off of a TV show. Because she was living like they do on TV when you're living the life, right? And so I got to talking to Laura. I listened to Laura. And you can hear how raw she is here, how for her to feel safe to be herself. So that's what I offered her, is to feel safe to be herself. And then she did allow me to do the energy work on her, which is really, we've got our cerebrospinal system in the back, all this stuff that gets fed through our eyes and our ears. If you've ever noticed, everything gets fed into your head, and so all that stuff that gets fed into is transmitted by stuff that's in the back of our head. When people say in the back of my mind, this is in the back of my mind. Well, so is that trauma. And it goes down that autonomic system, the cerebrospinal system. So when I worked with her, I worked on pushing energy out, because when we get upset, we constrict, right? We're like ready to fight. So, if you're ready to fight, or if you get scared, it's like, so pushing energy out. So it's being aware of our energy and other people's energy and learning how to respond rather than react to trauma, to understand why, like she's mentioned, the whys. Why am I feeling this way? Why is this affecting me this way? Why did I choose this? And being able to stay focused and not go from the old stuff, but remember what we have facing us in the future. And that's what I do with Laura and with other folks, is just help them remember their whys, like she said. And we start from there. It's why, because we do question, like she was saying, why did I do this? And if we understand initially what our why is, then we can see a different picture. But when we're dealing with those old tapes of the past and that trauma, sometimes that wants to come back and be an issue and make us feel not as smart as we want to be, or not as beautiful as we want to be. And so then we can live authentically, like you see, Laura, now from the inside out, rather than grabbing all that stuff outside to go in.
Laura, when you found me, I'm always very candid with my girls. They know I tell them everything because they're my girls, so they know everything. So when you came to me and you were taking care of your little baby, but I could feel your passion behind that first message that you sent me. And if my girls know anything about me, it's that when I see somebody who went through something in their journey and it was so significant in their life that it propelled them to do something, like we'll get into what you decided to do, but starting, like, for example, the faja doctor, she started altering fajas. I have another girl who suffered, or she was really struggling with finding a good sleep position. So she made like a Tempur-Pedic post-op bed because we need it, right? So it's very important to me to support people who had an experience and then, oh my God, I have to help other people so they don't go through this. So when you came to me and you told me your story, and I was like, oh my God, this is heart, hearts.
Yes. And actually, I didn't know. I thought that I was the only one who went through what I went through because that's how also self absorbed I was in the process of getting my surgery. All I was thinking about was me, right? So I was like, I'm probably the only one going through this. And that's also something that Stacey helped me to get overcome was being I am very generous, so you wouldn't think that I'm selfish. So it's not, but I am self-absorbed in different ways where I was, and I'm working on being better. So as I started doing more research and talking to other women and just going through even the community groups, so many women are like, why did I do this? And it could be because they have more pain. It could be because they have blood coming out of an incision. It could be because it could be any small thing that triggers. It's all going to be a roller coaster ride no matter what. But depending on how well you ride that ride and if you're going to throw up or not is based on the support system that you had. So the fact that I didn't have one and then finding your podcast and finding how all you do is help. You talk about everything. I was like, man, I wish they had this when I was getting my surgery, or at least that they should just have this in the intake form of everybody's surgery. Like, hey, we're not going to help you. So since you need some help, here's a couple of Instagrams that you can follow because you're going to spend a lot of time on Instagram anyway while you're healing. So here's some, and that wouldn't cost them nothing. All they would have to do is just make a little pamphlet of some IGs to follow. And at least they do more than what they're doing right now. Excuse my rant.
You know what? I think that leads us to a really important point because now that you've been talking to more practices, you have a mission, and now you're like, wait, hold on. Y'all don't care about
Yes.
y'all don't know how I felt.
Yes, those conversations floor me. And I'm also getting better at, Stacey knows, like I have a vicious tongue, okay? Like I can come at you verbally if I want to. I never came at her, but I talked to her about how I've come at others, and she's helped me work through that to not leave any more casualties behind with my tongue lashings. But yeah, the fact that they just are like a couple of offices that I've talked to just being like, well, that's their problem. Well, that's not something that we deal with. They don't come to us and tell us that. Well, okay, maybe they're not telling you because they don't know that you offer that. Well, they would tell us if they wanted something. Well, if you don't know if you need something and you don't know how to express it, then how are you going to tell them? But it really floors me on how many doctors are willing to take your thousands of dollars, but aren't willing to address something as important as mental health. Because I don't care how strong you are. I think that a lot of people, if they hear my story, they may envision a woman that's like meek and insecure. And if you go and you look on my page, you will see I'm everything but that. Like I'm being more vulnerable through my postpartum, having my baby, because I think that's needed as well. And I do have a platform to be able to share. But I'm not a woe is me kind of girl. I'm the kind of girl where I might cry, but I'm going to get my butt up 8, 9, 10, 1,000 times. I went through it too. And I went through it heavy. And so if I'm going through that, imagine about the woman who's going through it and doesn't have the support of her family and doesn't have the support of her spouse, or is going by herself to do the surgery all alone. It's happening a lot. And with the doctors having an opinion, not all of them, I'm going to give some of y'all some credit. You're trying to do it, but you ain't, none of you. Yes, I said it. None of you are addressing this the way it should be addressed, which is a very direct, this is what it is. These are some systems, not pamphlets. These are some systems you can follow. And if you can't create that system, doctors, then you need to find one. I created one, so I can help you. But, there's different resources. You have Mavi, Big Butts, No Lies. You have nutrition plastic surgery. You have Cosmic K. You have a Fit BBL. All these women are coming up. Catherine, I can't remember her name, but she did a surgery about the massages and stuff like that. All of these things are important, but that's like 5 accounts and 5 people trying to do things. And there's millions of surgeries being done. And so this just needs to be a mainstream thing, just like making these filters on Instagram is a mainstream thing. You want us to have filters so that we can see what we might look like, so we can go into the plastic surgery offices. I mean, there was a thought process behind that. I don't care what nobody says. There wouldn't be filters available if you couldn't test out what you might buy later, big butt, stuff like that. So if you're going to have that so readily available to society to where it's okay, now we're getting surgeries. Well, we need to make it mainstream, that mental health and sustainability, doing it right and sustaining the results and having a healthy view on. I mean, I'm not saying that if you have wine or if you drink tequila that you're an alcoholic. Some people can control that and they can just do it on an entertainment type basis. But you're going to find out if you have surgery. You're going to find out.
You're going to find out. Well, Stacey, tell me this. How many drinks a week is considered an alcoholic?
It can vary because it just, like I said, I'm not a doctor, but for me, it was several. And when we kind of know consciously when we're out of hand, when we've had too many. Some people, may consider if somebody drinks a drink a day. I don't think so, because that's not my experience. If you drink a day, but we know if we're drinking too much, we know. And, if we have to monitor ourselves, then we're probably, an alcoholic. If we have to say, okay, because I know for me, I would be like, I'm only going to drink 2 beers while my baby's taking a nap. But then I'd look around and it would be gone. I mean, I would have a lot of more beers than 2. And 2 was, we're talking about family stuff too. And 2 and 3 was our family, was how much they've been drinking. That always say, I've only had 2 or 3 beers,
The usual. Just 2 or 3.
Usual, but it's really okay. Well, then how many shots did you do, and how much? But it varies. I can't say, but consciously, people know. They know if they're an alcoholic, if they're drinking too much. We consciously know, and I would say that if what it is when you're putting your drinking, and that's the hard part, and that's part of the first step, is being honest with ourselves. If you're putting your drinking ahead of other things, then you've probably got a problem drinking. If you put your drinking or using or, addiction before everything else, before your family, your jobs, your friends, if you're dependent on that, and for me, I had a different mindset when I was using drugs and a different judgment. See, because when I was using, I was more judgmental than I am not using. But the thing is when I was using, I thought that people were judging me. And that's because I was judging them.
Yeah.
So I got to learn through recovery to take my own inventory, rather than taking other people's inventory and judging other people. But to answer your question, if we're looking at how much somebody else is drinking or trying to justify our own drinking and wishing we hadn't have done what we did, we probably have a drinking problem.
Yeah, I would say that, like, just to say what she said, you don't really know how much, but like when I was like, all right, just put some Kahlua in my coffee. I need this. I need this to start my day. This was before my surgery. I was in, like I said, stressful sales, but I was also in vacation sales. So you're selling the dream, you're selling the vacation. So this is my justification. So I got to look like I am vacation. I had a full bar in my office. So every morning was Kahlua in the coffee, champagne during lunch. Just because it sounds fancy don't mean.
Right.
Mimosa for brunch.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to drink these 2 bottles of Moet. Oh, it's Dom Perignon. That don't make it better, honey. It's still alcohol. Okay. It's still alcohol. And it's really bad for you after you have your surgery, especially because it's swelling. It helps contain the sodium and the sugar. I mean, girl, I'm just saying.
Well, let me tell you, whenever I had my surgery, right after my surgery, and I was really like feeling myself, and I started to go out more and I started to drink more. It got to the point where I was like, I'm waking up and my hands are swollen. Like in pictures, I could see that I looked swollen. During the pandemic, really it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to quit drinking. It was, I'm not in the environments that I usually am to drink. When I'm not in those environments, I don't drink. So through that, I went on this, like, I just don't drink anymore. I don't buy it. And for a while, I was like, I do drink. I like wine. Wine is delicious. I'm going to drink some wine. And I would buy the bottle and bring it home. And then think about it. I'm like, man, I might be hungover tomorrow because I haven't had anything to drink in a long time. So one glass is probably going to get me drunk, and then I'm going to be hungover tomorrow and swollen. Do I really want to do that? And it'll just sit there in my fridge until I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't drink anymore. It does not appeal to me anymore. But that doesn't mean that if I get put in the right environment with the right people and the right alcohol and the right music, doesn't mean I won't drink.
That's the thing. So like for me, I always struggled with what I'll never drink again. So I just stopped thinking like that. I do know one thing. My husband will kill me if I drink tequila again. We will be divorced. And that to me is more important than my drinking. Apparently I turn into the devil, and he doesn't want to be married to the devil. So he wants to be married to Laura Alexis. But also, I know that I'm embarking on this fitness journey to lead to surgery in 1 year. I don't want to have to come off of it again. And I just know, because of how body composition works and how science works, that if I don't have sugar and I don't have alcohol in my diet, then my results are going to be better. So for me, that's my new trick to motivate me not to drink, because otherwise there would be no question. I'm triggered if I'm on a plane. First class gives you free drinks. I'm triggered if I'm in a lounge. If I'm in an airport, go to the American Express lounge. It's all free. Everything's free. I mean, and then, they like to give you, when you go to a resort, here's your alcoholic beverage, so I have to just daily say, and today is another day. I'm going to be strong today. Because if I start thinking about those environments, then I'll be really overwhelmed. And if you have ever thought like, oh, if you've ever been overwhelmed by the thought that you can't drink anymore, you probably have a problem.
Right? And that's the thing, is it's about that excess, but we do feel like we're validated to have that excess, but we're not validated to have our own feelings. See, and then once we take all this stuff off of the top of our feelings and start discovering, as Laura did, what am I feeling, or why am I feeling? We're talking about health. So in health, I work with people who they think a bowl of ice cream every night is okay. But back in the day, a bowl of ice cream was a treat. So a drink could be a celebration, a treat. But if you're drinking and it's not a celebration, or if you're eating ice cream every night, do you need to eat? Why are we eating ice cream every night? Because ice cream really is a treat, and so we have felt as society that you have arrived, or what, if you are able to do these things just because you can. But just because you can doesn't mean that we should, and is that healthy for us? So when we ask ourselves, what is healthy for us,
I think that what got me was I was at SLS in Cancun, and at a beach party that they had combined with Miami. And I drank a lot that day. I can't remember what celebrity it was. There were a few there, but I had bought I was trying to show off. So I bought a bottle of Dom Perignon to come out, and they do the whole thing. And so I was sharing with his cabana. I know it was a guy. I just can't remember which one it was. Like an Instagram person or something. But they had always in their Instagram had talked about drinking like it was, and they didn't drink. I was like, oh, here, you want a glass, you want a shot? He's like, no, I don't drink. I'm like, what? And I used to not trust people who didn't drink. Yeah, a lot of people do now. Yeah, you heard right.
I don't trust people who don't drink. Like, what do you
don't drink? I don't trust you.
Oh, what's wrong with you?
Not anymore, but that's how I used to feel. I think Stacy was the first person I hung out with a while that didn't drink at all. That was a red flag for me, because I didn't want anyone judging me.
Laura, so when you went through all of this and then you decided, you know what, I know you have 4 babies right now. So why don't you tell us about your baby?
So are you talking about my physical babies? Are you talking about my kids? Are you talking about my husband? Are you talking about my business? Or are we
I'm talking about your business baby.
Yeah, okay. Because I got 4 babies, yes. And one is a grown man. But yes, so Make It Pop is my baby. It started out as LA Med Spa a couple of years ago. And it was a vision to help as many women as possible going through the plastic surgery process. At first, who were coming into Cancun for the surgeries, but then through a trial of events. And, God works in mysterious ways. We rebranded to Make It Pop in 2022, focusing on women undergoing surgery in the United States and partnering up with doctors who actually care about their patients enough to speak about this subject. And we created a system that guides the women for 12 weeks through their plastic surgery journey, very hands on. So for 4 weeks pre-surgery and 8 weeks post-surgery, they have weekly meetings with all of our coaches. Stacy is one of them. We have two others, one that focuses on mental health and nutrition, one that focuses on mental health and sustainability. We have a customer success who focuses on the happiness of our patients, but it's designed to be the support system that I never had. Be that best friend, that girlfriend that's going to tell you from the beginning to end what to expect, but also not just tell you about it, but give you tools so that you can be able to work through it. So we have a platform where there's weekly homeworks. We have webinars that we do, live sessions. The girls will typically go through the system 3 to 5 at a time. So they're all having surgery right around the same time, mostly tummy tucks, BBLs, lipo, mommy makeovers. So they're feeling all around the same feelings. They go through our nutrition, which is very intuitive. It's not like a very rigid, you got to eat this way, you can't eat that way. Dominic works with them to find what works for them. And this is important because we want to sustain the results. I mean, that's the biggest thing, because in those 12 weeks, and we chose those particular 12 weeks because they're so sensitive. You know, Mabby, the month before and 2 months after, it's a very critical time. And the habits that you create during that time set you up or push you down. And so we designed Make It Pop to set you up. And I call it Make It Pop because it's like, have that surgery, girl. Have that surgery. Do the work. Make it pop, though. You know, make sure your mental is in order. Make sure you have a nutrition plan. Like, a nutrition plan doesn't mean that you have to only eat 8 grapes and 2 grams of protein during snack. That's not, it's about feeding what you just did to your body to give you the results that you really want. But if you don't see that woman on the inside, it doesn't matter what's on the outside. You're still going to struggle, just like I did for up to, we're talking a year until I found Stacy. You know what I mean? And so the struggles that I go through now, thankfully, my husband the other day, I'm emotional anyway, because I just had a baby. So he's like, you're just emotional. And he's like, and just know, I love you. I think you're attractive. Yeah, you're still the most beautiful woman. I was like, excuse me, I know that I'm attractive. That is not my problem. I don't feel nothing like that. Okay. So don't worry about that. I know I'm attractive. So that came from the hard internal work, but it took me a year to put all these resources together. And so we're giving it now to women with just a message. We have a templated system that we created just for the woman who's going under plastic surgery. And it's a very hands-on approach. It's really hard to explain, except for in a way, as a patient, this is exactly what I needed. It would have helped me get to my mental goal a lot faster. It would have helped me appreciate the time during recovery a lot better. It would have gave me a better perspective. And in the end results that took me a year and a half to get to, it could have happened a lot faster, because mentally, as long as you're okay mentally, you're able to be patient for your body to catch up. And that's what we are teaching and giving with Make It Pop. So
I love it. And now that y'all heard that, I'm sure y'all understand why I was like, heart emoji, heart emoji. This is exactly what I want. I'm so happy because I know this is my mission. Like, I knew there's a gap between what we can do in the plastic surgeon's office and what women actually need when they get home and recover, or when they're going through recovery. And I'm so happy to have more people joining the cause of this is so important. And we have, in order to have really great results, not only physically, but emotionally transform ourselves using this journey. Y'all know I'm putting together my course, which is Becoming the Woman of Your Dreams during your plastic surgery journey, because it's so much more than physically becoming the woman of your dreams. It's emotionally and mentally becoming the woman that you want to be. And I'm so happy that we have now tools to help with this transformation, because I like to use the analogy, like during the recovery, it's kind of like you're a butterfly that's in a cocoon and you're like
Yeah.
building and like if you look at my ring, it's like
Yeah.
my you're in a cocoon. You are going through recovery. You're swelling, you're bruised, you're in pain. You have mental battles because you can't get up, you can't do everything you were used to doing. Maybe you didn't know it was going to be like this. But then after, if you use that time while you're in the cocoon to emotionally and mentally grow, by the time you're done with recovery and you're evolving, you're a brand new, beautiful butterfly. Even if your results are not what you wanted, you're so happy and thankful for everything that your results are what you wanted. And if you have to have another surgery, you are equipped to go through that process. So make it pop. I'm so excited. Before we sign off, tell us about the event.
So May 19th, 2023, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, we are going to be streaming live the Beautiful Mind event. I am so excited. We have yours truly, Miss Mavi, as our hostess with the mostest. She's going to be our host, and we're going to have our doctor's corner where we'll have some plastic surgeons, board certified, coming and speaking about this subject. Finally. And then we're also going to have our patient's corner where I'll be talking about my experience, but also transforming Teresa Marie, who was just on your show. She will be talking about her fabulous transformation, down 400 pounds, amazing. We have IG Famous by Dana. I know that's one of your like besties in this, but she's also so equipped and informed in this industry. We just, before this call, I got Dr. Goodwin, who you just signed on, a therapist who wrote a book about this subject. So it's all coming together. It's everything that the listeners need. Any patients that are going to have surgery, have had surgery, you are welcome. It's for doctors, supporters, and women who want to go under surgery. If you go to at Make It Pop USA, you can register right there. And we're going to be coming to you with a lot of advertising coming within the next 6 weeks or so. We're just getting started. So I'm really excited though, because I mean, with the amazing women that we have coming together and men coming together for this project, it's just going to go boom. And the idea is to help as many women as possible, just like you said, become the woman of their dreams, starting with the inside. Because being oppressed as a woman for so long and then being shamed for wanting to have things done to our body and all these other things that they do to women, even though we make human beings, it's crazy, but they do it to us anyway, to be able to support these amazing women who are making a choice for themselves to get things done, and us being able to support them, it means the world to me. So I'm really excited for what's to come. It will be a biannual conference that I plan to hold every year.
Me too. I'm super excited. I firmly believe that this is going to disrupt the industry as far as what we are doing after surgery. So, change is happening. Post-op care is changing. And like we've talked about on the show, like in the past 5 or 6 years, it's exploded. And I feel like this is part of what needs to be addressed as well, because
Absolutely.
so many times women are going through the journey and they're not seeing the other side. They're like disappointed. Maybe the results weren't what they wanted to emotionally. Maybe they didn't get what they thought they were going to get if they had surgery, for example, staying in relationships and stuff like that.
Mm,
It's hard. And I'm so excited to have something for our girls to get through their journey.
me too. I'm so excited.
So if you're a doctor, if you're in the US and your doctor doesn't have anything, tell them that Make It Pop does. Tell them that you
Yes.
know somebody, if you're having, like, if you have a good relationship with, I hope y'all do. If you're listening to this show, you should have a good relationship with your surgeon, and they don't have any systems in place to help you through your journey. Tell them, because they don't know what the patients are going through unless they've gone through it themselves. And the more we
Yes.
speak up about what is going on, I think the louder we get, the more change will happen.
Yep. I agree with that 10,000%.
Okay, guys, so that's the end of the episode. Laura, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Stacy,
you for
you were
having
amazing.
us.
Thank you, Mavi. Appreciate it.
So I will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Okay.
I would like to end this episode with a huge thank you to all of our listeners. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to subscribe to Big Butts No Lies Podcast and follow us on Instagram at Big Butts No Lies Podcast. If you have a topic you want me to cover, please send it to the DMs. If you know anyone on their plastic surgery journey, be sure to recommend them the show. You can also visit us on our website, bigbuttsnolies.com. You'll see the online surgical recovery store. We're adding new items all the time. If there's something you think I need to have on there, send me a DM. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. And don't forget, new episodes every Monday. I'll see you then.